Okay, so in order to create the design, what I did was I went to Google and I looked for a stained glass pattern. Now, I was looking for an owl pattern, so that's what I Googled, but you can Google any kind of stained glass pattern and you'll get lots of results. Free patterns to use. And the good thing about stained glass patterns is that they are very general, so you don't have to invent a way to adapt the image that you have in mind into beadwork, which doesn't allow for much detail. Instead, you can use a stained glass pattern, and it already has a very general shape. So all you have to do is to decide which color you will put in which space that is there. And in my case, it actually made sense to use the lines that were there on the stained glass pattern as guidelines for beadwork. So as you can see here, the lines on the face and the line under the chin, the wing, and the branch on which the owl is sitting in its feet, they're all separated with a distinct line of beads, and that really helps when you're beading, because you can basically start with those lines and then fill in all the remaining spaces. Also, I forgot to mention about the eyes. The eyes are, well, they look something like this originally. These are bigger, of course, but you can see them. So they're plastic, and I got them in a shop for felted toys. Of course, you can buy any other kind of eyes, maybe some that are better matched for owls. I just like these ones because they roll around. It's kind of funny. Also, you can make eyes yourself. Basically, you can take a paper, draw an eye, and then cover it with acrylic finish, and in many layers, and it will be this. It will become 3D because of that. There are lots of videos that you can find about making eyes for dolls and teddy bears and so on. But I just use these ones. And one more thing is that, as I said, the owl has a third dimension. It's thick, and inside it is a piece of plaster. It's just the usual plaster for arts and crafts that you can buy in a craft store. But you don't really have to use plaster. You can use any kind of polymer clay that dries at room temperature, because naturally you don't want to put this in your oven. So what you do is you simply put the clay or the plaster inside the embroidery, press it around to shape it, and then let it dry. Then you have to unstick it, because it'll get a little bit stuck, but not very well. You can't leave it that way. So you want to unstick it and maybe polish it a bit, and then glue it back, and then glue the backing on top of it. And that way you will have a very smooth backing here, and your owl won't be changing shape. So if I press it on the sides, it doesn't go anywhere, except for the very edge, which is kind of soft. These edge row, which connects the backing with the front. Otherwise, it's hard. So back to the pattern. What we do is we save the picture. Okay. Save it. Then open it. and scale it. Okay, here we go. So we zoom out to the size that you like. Okay, so for example, well, this is pretty much the size that I had. I think it's exactly the size. And then what you do is you take your lacy stiff stuff and you put it on top of the design, simply on your computer screen. And well, you can probably see, it's kind of vague, but you still can see that the lines shine through the lacy stiff stuff. That's because it's white. It's very important that the lacy stiff stuff should be light colored. It comes in different colors, but in white it's really convenient for this kind of transfer. Then what you do is you take some kind of pen. Well, in my case I used a water erasable pen, and let me see if I can find it. It's somewhere here, or maybe not. Ah, here. Yeah, this one. This one, water erasable pen. And what it does is you can draw, like here. Focus on that. Here, if you see, on the edge there is blue stuff, but basically if I put water on it, it kind of vanishes. Well, it takes a little bit more water maybe, but as you see, it just vanishes. So that's why I like water erasable pen, because it stays there as long as you like, but when you are done with it, you can just wash it and it'll vanish. Of course, in this kind of project, you don't really get to see the fabric on which you embroider after you are finished, so it's not very important to have an erasable pen. You can just draw with a regular pen, I guess. But I like to be on the safe side here because, for example, the eyes are these ones are a little bit transparent, and so if I put this kind of eye on top of some blue stuff, then the blue stuff tends to shine through, and the owl becomes a lovely blue-eyed beauty, which I don't really appreciate. So after you transfer, you cut out. This is actually the piece from which this thing came. You see, it fits there somewhat. And you start embroidering.